What is going on, Basshead family? Bringing y'all another 12-inch subwoofer review today. Bringing it back to what I used to do a bunch of on this channel. Really excited to say we have a new brand for the channel. That is, of course, Massive Audio. Over here we have the Hippo XLR. Never had one of these subs. Excited to see what we got here and what it can do. Let's get into it. Oh no, guys. So look at that. Let's get this box open and see what we got. One thing you will notice, guys, the gross weight on this thing is 70 pounds. Let me tell you what, you really feel it. This is a heavy sub. First off, we get our warranty card. This is a one-year warranty card, but it says if you want to get this thing warrantied, you have to fill in this registration card and send it in within 30 days of your purchase. So interesting there. But we got this whole card. You would fill out, sign in, all that good stuff. And then over here, guys, we have our spec sheets. Of course, over here we have the Hippo XLR, the 2-ohm version. FS is 44.7 hertz. SPL is 87 dB, 3,000 RMS watts, 6,000 max, guys. That's a crazy rating. 22 millimeters of X-Max. We have a 360 ounce motor. That is a big old heavy fella. 35 millimeters of X-Mech. That should be kind of peak to peak. We have a cast aluminum basket, double stack, strontium magnet structure. We have the Kevlar fiber reinforced non-pressed paper cone. We have a Nomax spiders. This thing is a monster. Let's get this out of here. Let's take a look at this massive guy. As I said, heavy. I like kind of the texture on the cone. I like that dust cap. Of course, I have the stitching. Nice high roll surround. This is one of those real kind of shorter, stocky subs with that big old red Nomax spider. I like the texture on the basket. That voice coil in there is huge, guys. I'll show you that here in a minute. That's at least a 4-inch. That is a massive fella. Moving on down to here, guys. What a huge motor. Of course, that center venting. Have our venting for the coil. This is CEA certified. Y'all, this thing is a monster. Over here, this guy has direct leads. And one thing you'll notice, they look like pretty thick wire. But then when you look in there, they have a lot of shielding. Not quite as much copper as you would think. For example, guys, let's see. Right here, we have some Skyhawk audio, oversized 12-gauge wire. So you'll see the shielding is actually overall is smaller. We do have more copper over here on the Sky-High wire than we have on this guy over here. Guys, I don't see this at all being a problem. I think it's totally fine. But just want to make sure that y'all did see that and you all were aware. Guys, there's that huge coil inside this thing. I know video won't do it justice, but it is a massive coil, no pun intended. Big old fella. Real quick, guys, if you were thinking about getting some custom speaker pod stuff, and you want to check out some of their new designs we got over here, check out my link in the description below and use my code PTB to get 10% off your order from Custom Speaker Pods. Super appreciate them. And of course, huge shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Alfred Audio. Quick word from them, then back to the video. Real quick, guys, gotta give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Alfred Audio. Super appreciate them for being such a huge supporter of the channel this year. It's really been a huge help. As you know, pretty much had a full Alfred Audio build in the Sequoia for the last show that we did, and we ran their massive 20K amp over here. It did absolutely great. Now, speaking of amps, really excited to say that they have come out with a new line of amps. It is their MFA lineup. This is a new series of 2 and 4 channel amps, and what makes them different is 1, they are super compact, really small amps. 2, they put a ton of just time and effort into developing them, into making them really, really nice. They're a Class D amplifier, but they have exceptional quality, use nice components, everything they needed to make sure there was no noise, none of that junk coming through your system. God, especially for a nice 4-channel amp or 2-channel amp, you want crisp music coming through your speakers. You don't want buzzing, you don't want noise. So that is really what they were going for with these amps. Thinking about getting one myself to run. If you let me do that, guys, let me know. I think that would be cool. But yeah, guys, if you want to go check out those amps, will of course be a link to Alfred Audio in the description below, so go check that out. Once again, huge thank you to them. Now back to the video. Y'all, this is a big fella. Videos don't do these things justice, but motor on this thing almost as wide as the basket. And it is heavy. You feel it. Excited to try this guy out. We gotta hook this guy up in the truck. Gonna let this big old boy break in a little bit. Spider's still insanely stiff, so we're going to do that. Then we'll get to our normal test, play some music through it, see how loud we can get it, and then, of course, do an RMS test, see what this guy can take. All right, guys, good news is this thing sits inside the old King City Customs box. I know y'all haven't seen this guy in a long time. Old box. But, yeah, it does fit in there. Now, guys, I got to give a massive shout-outs to, of course, Massive Audio and Big Jeff Audio for sending me this sub. Well, before Big Jeff Audio was helping me out with the videos, I was buying stuff from him. He always had great prices and insanely fast shipping. Stuff always gets here in like 2 or 3 days, which is crazy. Of course, there will be an affiliate link to Big Jeff Audio to where you can grab this guy, should you want to, in the description below. Once again, thanks to him. All right, let's throw this thing in the truck and see how it does. Got the Massive Audio hooked up in the truck. Got all those direct leads hooked up there. Oh boy, y'all, this is gonna be fun. We've got the Taramps Smart 8 over here, the Smart 8 bass. Should be able to deliver plenty of power to this thing. So I've got one of these DJ Dirty Bass thumb drives. These things are sweet. Have a ton of good stuff on them. So we have this thing called Woofer Lube. So we got a 20 hertz one and a 15 hertz one. Here, let's do the 15 hertz one. So this is just gonna play. And it should stop here in a second. Yep. It gives it a little bit of, gives it a minute to cool off. And it comes back up. So I'm gonna leave this thing on probably an hour or so. Make sure this thing breaks in good. Make sure that spider's nice and broken in. Sometimes you gotta also break in that coil a little bit. Sometimes there's gonna be some excess glue or something that just needs to, kind of burn off or whatever. Good to do this before you really start putting the power to it. So yeah, we're gonna leave this alone, let it do its thing. It's dark out. We've been playing this for over an hour and a half. Definitely a little bit softer, and I could smell a little bit of coil when I came in here, so I think that's a good thing. I think it means this thing is definitely broken in a good deal. fellas, next up, let's do the dB test. See how loud we can get this guy. We're going to do 35, 40, and 45 hertz. Now, just a note, this is not a SBL setup. Don't have this whole thing dynamitted with the port over here facing forward. Probably could do better if we had it facing to the side, maybe facing up. Point being, guys, we're not going to get the absolute best score that we could. Just going to give us a little bit of a reference, kind of compared to other stuff that we've done. So let's see what we can do. All right, guys, let's try 35 hertz, see what we get. See, our impedance rose a lot there, 2,805 watts. But we got a 139.1. Let's try 40 hertz. 2,335 watts. I got a 136. All right, let's try 45 hertz. Really maxing her out there. That was only at about 1,800 watts. Well, we got a 134.9. All right, hard to say. Those scores don't seem, you know, that impressive. But again, one, we're metering on the glass in this truck, not in the kick. Two, hey, the box is pointed straight forward. I'm sure there are things we could do to get that score up. Three, also, our impedance is rising like crazy, guys. This guy should be wired down to 1 ohm, but as you can see there, we're rising up to close to 5 ohms. So even though we got this, you know, smart base 8K on it, still not getting as much power. You know, really getting limited just because of how high those ohms are rising. All right, next up, we're gonna do a musical RMS test on this guy. It says it's 3,000 watts RMS, so we're gonna see how close we can get to that. We're gonna do it on a song first, see if it makes it through that 3,000 watts. Even on a song is kind of a crazy rating, so let's see what this thing can do. Okay, something started sounding bad there. I can say, guys, I was pushing 3,000. It was peaking up to like 3,500 watts, so I really did push it there. And that box would be a little big. I gotta say, switching stuff up so much, you just kind of never know what is gonna do well, what isn't. Anyway, like I said at the beginning, that is a crazy RMS rating to have. But hey, it is what it is. Let's pull this thing out and see what happens. Oh no, guys! So look at that. That top spider right there came up from the spider pack, which is kind of wild. Maybe this one was sitting on top though. No. Yeah, it was sitting under this little plastic ring, and somehow, hey, that didn't hold it down, guys. That being said, the big old coil looks just fine, so can't be too mad at it. Pulling this up, best I can tell, the bottom spider is still fine. Trying to get these screws loose. We're gonna fit this guy back down in here and see if we can get it going again. Figured I'd pull out their little sheet just to see how much out of spec we are. So here is the Hippo XL 122OMR. So we're gonna come over here to single ported volume. You can see right there, it wants between 1.46 to 1.93 cubic feet, tuned to between 45 to 40 hertz. Now, of course, that box, the box I use for all my 12-inch reviews that I've had dozens and dozens of subs in, that box is about 2.5 cubic feet, tuned to, I believe, like 32-ish hertz. So, guys, the box definitely out of spec for that sub. Well, I can't say it's necessarily the sub's fault for overextending itself and pulling out that spider. All right, I was able to get the screws out, pop this guy up, set this thing back in here. Sounds like everything is fine. I don't think there's really anything wrong besides that. Now, the problem is here, guys, once you get these screws out, they just snap. So I can't screw them back in, and I can't put new screws in there. So I think for now I'm gonna put a couple clamps on it, verify it still works. And then I guess what I could do, I could go get some of that good epoxy, which is kind of thing where you can tell they really didn't do a lot of here, but there's a little bit. Yeah, I could put some epoxy on the bottom and on the top of that spider, clamp this whole thing down, and then go from there. I really want to see how the coil in this thing holds up. I think if you're getting this sub, that's what you really care about. So I've got this hooked up. I've got this all clamped down, tested out a bunch. spider seems to be doing fine. But of course, hey, this is kind of a ghetto sketchy little setup here. But anyway, we've got it leaned over. Got it hooked up to this amp up here. We've got my SMD AEM1 on. We're going to turn this thing up to about 1,000 watts, which is a ton of power, especially with this thing being, you know, broken. And you'll see, guys, this thing is pretty much maxes out. When I get to that, we're going to do that. We're going to have a timer set up next to it. We're just going to see kind of how long this thing can go. You know, see if we can make it to like 5 minutes or so. Again, with it being broken, hey, we'll find out. Some low frequencies to let that thing cool off, to keep the air moving over that coil, but get the power down. All right, so a couple things to note. First off, I really couldn't get it above 1,000 watts. One, when I broke this spider in, guys, I'm telling you, I really broke the spider in, so it was nice and soft, which means it didn't take much power for it to kind of max out. So since I couldn't do that, I figured, hey, we gotta heat up this coil somehow. So guys, left it on there for over 10 minutes. And as you can see, it's still going just fine. Remember, we have a broken sub here, just held together with clamps. And hey, it made it through 10 minutes at 1,000 watts. Overall, I gotta say, that is pretty impressive in and of itself. So, guys, overall thoughts on this sub. First off, it's got a really nice look. Decent build quality, just overall. I do like it, enjoyed having it in my truck. Sounded good, got down. I will admit, where I messed up, hey, I did have a bigger box than this thing recommended by a pretty good amount, and it was tuned lower as well. So I'll take full responsibility for the spider tearing out on this thing. That being said, I would love to see more glue on that spider pack. There was very little glue on it. I think having just a ring on it with the clamps, I mean, works. You see a lot of companies do that, but in my opinion, for such a, you know, big, beefy, high-power sub, really putting some glue on the spider could have saved this. I think this thing would really shine in a demo build where you wanted to cram a bunch of these into a small space where you didn't have a ton of airspace and you wanted to really feel some of that bass, some of that stuff that just really punches you right in the chest. That being said, if you want something that's going to play those extreme lows, again, this guy wants a box tuned to around 40 hertz. So even though it does play those lows, I played several, you know, lower songs in the car. It sounded fine. That is probably not the area where this guy is really going to shine. Anyway, guys, let me know what you thought. You know, I kind of thought the video was over when this spider tore out. But hey, at least we found out this guy has a awesome coil. All right, guys, so after editing, I wasn't really happy with the results of that, since that was, you know, my fault for putting it in this box that was too big. Got a scar on there right now. But anyway, so I went ahead, fixed the sub. Wasn't a big deal at all. Tested it out for a while. Holds good. So got a cheap box I had sitting around. That was 1.3 cubic feet, tuned to about 38 hertz. So definitely closer. Anyway, threw it in there, hooked it up in my shop, redid the entire test. I was able to get up to about 2,700 watts before the amp would start clipping due to the impedance rise. Anyway, guys, Made it through that totally fine. No issues, no smells. Didn't really even get hot. So all good there. I'll show that clip here, guys, but that'll wrap it up. That is going to do it for this review, guys. Thank you guys so much. Once again, big shout out to Massive Audio and Big Jeff Audio for supporting the channel. That's going to do it. But remember, as always, guys, keep basing on.